Today we are going to develop a simple website for a fictitious creative agency. Pretty simple little template I designed in Adobe XD. Let's go ahead and give it a quick look. So starting out, we're just going to have a header, content area. We have a little featured work section, an about us section, a little call to action banner sitting down at the bottom, and a really simple footer with a copyright inside of it. Now we also threw together a pretty simple mobile site for it. So we'll start with the mobile site, and we will build up into the desktop. Start with like a mobile first approach as we develop it. As you can see, there's a few little differences. We got like 2 columns instead of 3. The About Us section's all column. We kind of have this little banner stacked, and the footer's pretty much the same. Little font size change, I think. And when we hit here, we have this simple little menu with some links in it, or with our navigation links. So anyways, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Yeah, it should be fun. So I have this pretty simple little starter folder that I put together. I'll link to it to download off my GitHub. I'll probably have like the starter folder and a completed folder if you want to go check that out, or if you just want to go look at the stuff and not watch this video, whatever you're interested in. Basically, all we have is an index HTML, an empty main JavaScript file. We have a CSS folder with a empty styles file here. And in the images, I already have these images extracted that we need. So looking at the site, all we have is this big hero background image. We just have these work images and this About Us image. We're not going to be doing any responsive image stuff in this video. Like on a production site, you would probably want to use like the picture tag and set some media queries to load certain images. We're just going to go with one image, mostly focusing on layout in this video. It's pretty simple layout, but we're going to be using Flexbox, going to be using Grid, the CSS grid. Yeah, it should be pretty fun. I think it's going to turn out really well. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Let's go ahead and get started. So inside of the creative folder here, I'm just going to open this up into the control, and we're just going to type code. I'm going to open this up. I'm using Visual Studio Code. So I got this opened up here. Let's go and take a look at the index HTML. Inside of here, we just have a simple, pretty basic empty folder for the most part, file for the most part. I do have a link to the main JavaScript. I have a link to the CSS. I have this Google font family for Open Sans, which is the only font we're using, and we're only using a normal font weight and a bold font weight. And I set the title, nothing special. Like I said, this JavaScript folder is empty, and this CSS folder is empty. So starting out, I think we should add some HTML markup, and then jump into the CSS and start styling it out. So let's go ahead and start. We're going to take this as like a mobile first approach. So we're looking here, and we have a header, we have like a navigation, we have that little site nav here in this drop down like full screen fixed menu here, and then we have this big hero section. We have a nice large heading, some introductory paragraph here. Sorry if you can hear my dog snoring. She's snoring really loud behind me. And we have a view our work button, little kind of secondary button, and yeah, we have a button there. So let's go ahead and start with that. Let's just get this header and this hero section markup done, and then we'll jump into CSS and start by styling that out, and then we'll move on to the other sections. All right, so let's start with the header. Give this a class of site header. Yeah, pretty generic class name for that. We're also going to need a logo. So let's go and add a logo. Just add a link. And let's give this logo a class of, let's just call it logo. Creative. And we're going to add a span in here just to grab that agency. Wait, I think I spelled that wrong over here. Look at that. Creative agency. Oh my god. I'm spelling wrong right now. Agency. There we go. Jeez, I can't spell right now. But that looks correct. I thought I spelled it wrong, but my brain is just playing tricks on me right now. I didn't see the G in there. All right, let's continue on. Let's add a button, and let's give this a class of nav toggle. So this is going to be the nav toggle little hamburger nav menu button here. So, and inside of here, I'm just going to add 3 span classes. This is a common way of handling this. You can use icons, or you can use, however you want to handle this. I think this is a pretty nice way of tackling the nav toggle. We can easily modify these spans to do some cool animations and stuff like that, which we will in this video. So let's stick with that. And next, I think we should add a nav class, site nav. So then we are going to add a nav, or a class. We're going to give this a class name of nav list, and we're going to add, I like to use a lot of classes. Think it really helps keep the markup pretty readable, kind of see what everything's doing, and it, easier to target in the CSS. More straightforward. I'm gonna give this a nav list item. Inside here, I'll also give this one a class name. Class equals nav list link. Cool. So our first link is home. Our second link is about. Our third link is work. And our fourth link is services. Now we also have, so we got those knocked out. Well, depends on which menu. It looks like I have some inconsistency here in my design. I was going based off this desktop one, but we'll keep it like this. And we got this green button here at the end, so we will go ahead and create a button for that. So the last one here, we'll go and add one more nav list item. Instead of nav list link, we'll call this like nav list CTA, which basically stands for call to action. You could call it nav list button or something too, if that would be better for you. But we're also going to add some other classes. I'm going to give it a generic button class. We're going to say button primary, and that'll be it. Yeah, and we're going to change this to contact us. Perfect. So we got our header. We got everything we need to handle that into our HTML. Next, I would say we have the hero section. So let's go ahead and look at that and see how we want to handle that. So we are going to need a big heading here. We're going to have a paragraph and a button. So let's go ahead and say section class hero. And then we're going to need a div class of hero. Let's call it hero content, like a little wrapper around the content inside of the hero so we can like align it and stuff like that. We can give it an H1. Let's go ahead and we are creative agency, and we also have a paragraph here, so I'll just grab that paragraph text from XD, and we also have a button here, and the button says, let's go ahead and pop it open over here. view our work. So we'll add the view our work button. And so you can see, yeah, this is going to be our H1. We have the paragraph, and now we just need to do the view our work. We'll just say view our work, and let's go ahead and give this a class of button as well. But this one, we're going to call this, let's say button. Let's just call it secondary. We could call it something else like button ghost or button outline or something if that would be more appropriate to you, or if you'd enjoy that more. But I'm just going to call it button secondary. And you know what? The button size is a little bigger than the other one. So let's go ahead and say button large. We'll have some different button sizes as well. So yeah, it'll be more extendable in the future to other areas. But yeah, we're not going to go any further than that. You know, I'm also going to just go ahead and give this a class. I do like to use a lot of classes. I recommend, I think, you know, it's helpful. We can say button heading, and I don't really like using like button paragraph, but, or hero paragraph, but I'll just say para. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and give it that. You could also say hero content and then select H1 and paragraph, but say that for your website or whatever, you wanted to use an H2 instead of an H1, and in the content it's already set to H1 for SEO purposes or something. I think targeting classes is better because then we can make the changes that we want to it if we need to. Like if you wanted to add an H2 or something like that, yeah. Anyways, rambling. But I think that's all we'll need for those two sections. I'm just going to go ahead and knock out a few other sections here. We'll say about section, well actually about, the first one's going to be our work, about us. These are like little dots say, hey, coming soon. Section, we'll just say CTA banner, like little contact banner at the bottom. And we'll just say footer. Footer. Let's go ahead and add that like that. And let's go ahead and pull open. So we haven't even looked at any of this. So now that we have all this markup, let's go ahead and look at how it's shaping up in the browser. So I'll open up this file, hit our index here, and let's go and open up over here. And since we're designing for mobile currently, let's go ahead and look at it in mobile. And this is what we're looking at. I do have iPhone 6, 7, and 8 selected. And that is over here what we do have selected in XD, so it'll definitely keep some, help keep some consistency and make it a little easier as we're designing for the mobile. And nice, looks good. No styles, all the default stuff's here. So let's go and jump back into Visual Studio Code and open up our CSS file. So as you see here, I already mentioned, but we do have it already linked up here at the top. So the way we're going to handle this, first I'm going to do this, we're going to use just an inline reset here. We'll just say border 0, padding 0, box sizing border box. I like to use border box. I think it's way better for layout. I think it's pretty common practice to use border box now too. If you're not sure what that is, you can go Google that. Basically, it's just how the content model of CSS or of the HTML document behaves. So I'm also going to, I'll say everything before and the pseudo element, everything, all that after pseudo elements. We'll set that as well. And this is basically just going to give everything on the page. The asterisk means everything. Everything on the page is just going to go reset, no margins, no paddings, and everything's going to be a border box. There's going to behave in a border box content model. Yeah, let's give it a look. Cool. So that did not work. Everything, margin 0. Oh, I said border 0, margin 0. My brain. Ugh. Margin 0, padding 0. Yes, now we're resetting it. I'm sorry about that. Yes, that looks much better. Everything is not set anymore, so that's looking good. Great. So let's go ahead and continue on. So now that we have that set up, let's go and set up some base let's go and create a big comment here. I'll just grab it like that. Why do I keep hitting that? Just say base. So let's just add some base style. So let's start with some, I don't know, some typography. So we'll start off with some typography. Let's go ahead and look at our XD file and start setting that up. So first, let's go ahead and start with these headers. So, well, actually, let's go ahead and start with setting up our font family and all that. So I'll just say body. Don't need space there. We'll say font family. We are setting this to open sans, and cool. So we got open sans, and we will set a fallback of sans serif. We're going to give a base line height of 1.5, and let's go and give a base color. I know the design we are using for like a base color just 565656, which is like this medium gray for all the text on that and everything. So for like the base text, which will probably handle our everything other than our headings, which we'll set right now, and our links, which we'll also set right now. So let's go ahead and move on next to the headings. Yeah, H1, H2, and an H3. Let's go ahead and, well, like we're saying, these are going to be set to a darker gray. We're going to set the line height to 1.2 instead of 1.5. And we'll also set the font weight to 700 to make sure that ensure these are bold. So all of our headings are going to be bold. If we look, let's go and look over here. They're going to be bold. The default color is over here. I don't think you can see this, but 333. Cool. I think you guys can see that just behind there. So it's like that gray, and then yeah, this one right here. I'm pretty sure, yeah, 5656. Yep. So that's what we were doing there. Yeah, we're setting the sizes, and they're all bold. So this one is definitely going to be our H1. It's on the mobile size. It's 32 pixels. We're going to be using rems, which are relative units. So we'll just go ahead and say H1 font size 2 rem actually. And basically, it's when you're doing relative units, basically all it is how to calculate this is our base font size is, well, if it's not set by the user, it's 16 pixels. So you divide your target font size, so say we want 32 pixels to be our font size. We'll take 32 and we will divide it by 16, and that'll give us 2. We're using relative ems here, so yeah, and it's just using relative elements rather than pixels is just better. It gives the user more control over, it goes based off of their settings, so it's better for, yeah, accessibility, stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, you can read up on that. There's definitely a lot of reasons why you should be using relative units over pixels most of the time. So all right, next. Let's go ahead and set our H2. Yeah, there's nothing special. We'll go ahead and set our H2 and our H3. I'm going to go ahead and look at what we have set for those two. Same thing. This one is set to 24, so that'll be 1.5 rem. And we have this H3 down here. It's set to 18, so we'll go ahead and set those. This one's going to be 1.5 rem and 1.125 rem. All right, so we have all our heading elements done. Let's go ahead and, you know, we're actually going to do one more thing. Margin, let's give them all a margin bottom of 1 rem. We might come back and adjust this, and definitely you can go way more in depth, making more of a modular type system that falls into like a vertical rhythm. And I mean, there's a lot of design science behind this, but yeah, I'm just kind of setting these to some default values just based off what I'm looking at. And we can definitely come back and adjust these later. You can definitely go way more in depth with type scales and all that kind of stuff. But for this simple site, this is all we're going to need. Not a real content heavy site either, so should be good, should be fine. Let's go ahead and add a paragraph. Pretty much all our styles for our paragraph are already completed, but we are going to just give it a margin bottom of one rem as well, which is 16 pixels. And we are going to target our link. And there's no actual just like text links on the page here, but I would imagine we only really have one color. So let's just go and set the base color to that. I'll just go ahead and grab this green, which is 27A-E60. We'll just go ahead and come over here. We'll say color. Go and set that. And we're also, one thing we're going to do is say text decoration. We're going to set that to none because we don't want that underlining. And let's go and see what we have now. Yeah, lots of changes. Everything's looking really good. Yeah, we're pretty set up to go on typography for this site. Next, let's go ahead and just knock out these 2 buttons that we have, which are like, going to be shared across the whole website. And then we'll move on to the header. Let's just go and say buttons, say button, oops, button. So what things do we need our buttons? So we definitely want them to be, let's go and open up our XD. Got quite a few things we want. So let's go and start with this button, just analyze it, what we're looking at. So it has a height of 48 pixels. It definitely has some padding on the left and the right, and the text on all of them look like they're all going to be uppercase, and it looks like the text on all of them are white. So this button secondary and the button primary, we'll just go and set the text white. And yeah, we'll probably set like a generic like dark gray background for the button, and then button primary, we can set it to green. That might be an easy way of handling it, or we could just set the button to green and then set this other one to button secondary to however. Yeah, let's just do it like that. We'll just set a generic button with like a dark gray background, and then when we actually specify that it's button primary, we'll add the green. And then when we specify button secondary, we'll remove the background, add the border, and yeah, let's see how that turns out. Cool. So, button, we're going to say display. We don't want it to be block. We want it to be flex, but we don't want it to be like a block level. We want it to be, we want it to behave like an inline element, but we do want that flex so it doesn't expand. If you want, you can add a class of like button block if you wanted that, but we're not doing that in our site. So we'll do inline flex. Make sure we align items center. Let's go ahead and give this a base height of, it was 48 rems, so divided by 16, our base button height is going to be 3 rems. We also want to give a border radius of 3 rems. We're going to want to give a padding, probably looking at it, let's just start with 2 rems, and we can kind of eyeball that. I'm going to say text transform to uppercase. Let's go and say color. Let's go and set that to white since they're all going to be white. And let's go ahead and say our default background. Let's just go ahead and give it that dark 333 dark gray that we're using for the heading, which we also use in the footer and for the background of this mobile menu. And let's give that a peek. Let's just see what that does for us here. So there's our generic buttons. So let's go and tackle the button primary. So let's go and grab this color here. Background. Now, if we were going more in depth, this is a pretty simple site. I don't mind just grabbing these colors. Not a lot of colors. Should probably add variables. Most of the time, probably in videos coming up, I'd be using Sass and be using variables. You can also use the root property to add some variables like that, which is pretty common these days too. I'm not going to do any variables or anything on the site, so we are just going to just grab that color like that. Yeah, that should actually handle our button primary. Cool. That looks good. That's it. Let's go and handle our button secondary. This one also has the color white, but it does not have a background. So we're going to set that to transparent. But we will add a border of 2 pixel solid and white. Yeah. Now up here, since the base button does not have a border, we can also add a border, 2 pixel solid transparent. Basically, this will just kind of keep that space. It's kind of a best practice. You might run into issues with this, with like animations and stuff. Some weird stuff can happen. So we'll just make space for that 2 pixel border, transparent border here. Actually, border 2 pixels white. Cool. That is looking pretty good. Yeah. So we got these buttons all set up, and one last button element that we do want to do. We did say button large. The other 2 buttons, the secondary buttons, are a little bigger. We're just making these more extendable so we can have a little bit more flexibility if we need it later on in this application. And but we're only doing this homepage. This might be even going a little far for just this little tutorial. But let's go ahead and add a button large because it's going to be a different size, but it only applies to the button secondaries. But we'll just add a separate class for it. Kind of helps separating the styles up into separate classes like this so that they're more extendable later on. But anyways, so button large, it's actually going to be a height of 3.5 rem rather than 3 rem, and we're going to give it a width of, a padding of 3 rem instead of 2. And let's see, everything's looking good. Yep, everything is looking good. Now let's move on to the header and the hero section. So, oops. All right, cool. So let's go and set up these big comments for the header and the hero. Let's go ahead and just leave this like this. Actually, let's go, okay. Site header. We'll set this to position absolute. Top 0, left 0, width 100%. Just because I know that we want this at the top, but we also want it to overlap the hero, so we're making sure it's at the top. It's top left, and width is 100%. That's all we'll do for that real quick. Let's go ahead and tackle the hero first. Hero, this is going to be, we're going to say width 100%. We're going to give it a height of 100 view height, which is the viewport height. So everything that you can see on the height, you'll see in a second if you're not familiar with that, how it works. We're going to say display flex. We're going to want to align item center, and that should be pretty good for what we need so far. Let's see where we're at. Cool. So looking, we've got this hero section, 100%. So if we scroll, it's just 100% of this viewport height. So it pushes all this other stuff down to the bottom here. We also made it display flex. The buttons in there, you can't see it, but we display flex and we aligned item center so that they're centrally aligned here. Yeah, looking good. Let's go ahead and add the background image. We'll just go and finish this off real quick. So background URL images. So we got this hero BG. Say no repeat. We'll just say center for its alignment, and we'll use background size. We will set it to cover. Cool. Let's give that a peek. Nice. Now we have a background on it. Everything's looking pretty good. We also added some class names over here, so we just grab this hero heading. We're just going to set this to color of white. We also have that hero paragraph. We say color white on that as well. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and blend these two up here because that's pointless, and we're not going to do any more to the paragraph, I don't believe, at least not yet. Let's also tackle that hero content section. Let's go ahead and look at our XD design. So looking at this grid, appears we have like a 24, so 1.5 rem gutter on the outside for the mobile here. So this content, we're going to go ahead and add that to it. We'll go padding 0, 1.5 rem, and we'll say text align. God, I would never use align center. I can't type today. But I think that should be pretty solid. Let's go ahead and see what we're looking at now. Nice. So we got that hero section. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and tackle the header now. First, let's go ahead and say we're going to have a logo. We're going to have a nav toggle. And we're also going to have a site nav. Is that what I called it? Site nav? Yeah. We'll just set those sections up. And for the site nav, let's go ahead and just say display none for now. Let's go ahead and say logo. I called that logo, right? Yeah, logo. So we know we want it to be, let's go ahead and, this would be easier if we just pulled up the XD again. So looking at this is 18 pixels. So we know first off, we want font size to be set to 0.125 rem, color of white, and for that span, we're going to want to give that a font weight of 700. Cool. And you know what? Actually, we do have a little bit more we can do with this header too. Let's go ahead and do the layout. We got our logo, and one last thing, we actually have some letter spacing. I'm just going to give it a letter spacing of, let's just try 2 pixels, see what that looks like. And great. We do have, let's go and kind of give this an idea. We have a size here, so that's 60, which puts it about center between those two. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. Looking at about 60 pixels. This guy's in the middle of that. So let's go ahead and see if we open up our calculator. I'm pretty sure that's 3.75. 3.75, cool. So we're going to give this a height 3.75. We also want all the content to be centering it again. So let's go ahead and just go display, do flex again, and we'll also align item center, and we'll also justify content space between. That should be pretty good. Also want to give it some padding, and like I said, we're using that the gutter width on the outside of the grid to be 24 pixels or 1.5 rems. So that should give us a much better look. Okay, what did I do? Oh, 1.375 rems. That should give it, there we go, perfect. So our header is coming together. Let's go ahead and tackle this button over here, and then we'll handle the menu, and then we'll move on. So we got our nav toggle. Got these 3 spans in here. Let's go ahead and go style that out real quick. It should be pretty simple. First, let's go ahead and do some resetting on the nav toggle. We're going to say background. We're going to say set to transparent. We're going to say border 0, and let's give it no outline. Outline none. We are going to say, if we look at this, it's 24 pixels high, 16 pixels height, or 24 pixel wide, 16 pixels width. So let's go ahead and do that. Width 1.5 rems and height 1 rem. And we're going to say position. No, that should be pretty good. Yeah, these other elements, we're going to give this a position of relative because we want these spans inside of here, which are going to be positioned to absolute, to be positioned relatively to the parent button element. Nav toggle span. We're going to say width 100%. We'll say position absolute. We're going to say left is set to 0. Height 2 pixels. Background, just give it that shorthand white color again. And yeah, that should give us a white bar. Cool. Now we have all three of those stacking up right there. Let's go ahead and set all of these positions. Say int of type 1. Say top 0. Margin top. Well, we're going to say 50% for this guy. We'll say margin top minus 1 pixel to offset the 2 pixels heights. So that'll be centered. And we'll say 100% for this last one from the top. And we'll do the same margin top, but we're going to do minus 2 pixels so that that will be aligned back into the button element that we have here. And yeah, let's go ahead and give that a look. That should give us our hamburger menu. I said top. Oh, I should probably specify these ints of types real quick. Cool. Yes, there we go. All right, everything's looking good. So let's go ahead and analyze that and kind of give a little breakdown of what we got going on here. If I didn't do 2 pixels, then this would be coming out of sight of there. Same with this middle one. If I didn't have that minus 1 pixel, it wouldn't be centered. It's just basically top of the element is being pushed from the top of the parent element. The child element is being pushed from the top from the parent. So it's going to be 50% down from the top of this span to the top of the nav toggle or whatever. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's kind of what we got going on. We got these 3 spans. We could probably add some padding around this guy and maybe give him some better click. Yeah, we'll worry about that later. Make it more clickable later. Sure. Let's do the site nav. So we don't want this displayed none anymore. We want this to be positioned fixed. We're going to say top, and we're going to offset this to the top of the header height. So I think that was 3.75 rem. I know. Left 0, right 0, and we're also going to say bottom 0. Cool. Let's go ahead and say we're going to say display flex. Once again, we're going to align item center. We're going to justify the content to be center. We are going to say background. Okay, background. This dark gray color that we've been using. Let's go and give that a look. Wow, cool. So we got pretty far, pretty quick there. Got everything centered out like we wanted to. We'll also, when this is open, we'll probably also make the header here. We'll give it the background of dark gray, and we'll also set that to fix as well. Let's go ahead and take care of the actual menu styling now. We'll say nav list style none. Say nav list link color. And if we look back in here, I'm using this nav list link. I remember that we set these links here to nav list links. So let's go ahead and style those out. And if we look at our XD file of what we're styling, what we're trying to achieve, we're going to want to make them white, text decorate them, or text transform them to uppercase, and give them some good spacing between each other, probably some padding as well so they're more clickable. Make a more surface area for the button. Cool, so we're going to say that the color is white, text transform is going to be set to uppercase. Let's go ahead and give it a padding of, let's give it like half of a rem, see where that gets us. And yeah, let's go ahead and look at that. And also this nav list, we'll probably want to set this text alignment to center because everything's centrally aligned. Cool, let's give that a look. Nice, that looks good. These are all 16. Yep. So that's looking good. But as you notice, the padding isn't taking effect here, and that is because these nav list links, we want these to be display, inline block, so that they have that block element that they can accept padding, but not that they're going to be full width. So just like the inline flex from earlier. There we go. Cool. So let's go ahead and pop this guy open. So if we're looking at it, the buttons, these guys definitely have a lot more spacing, so we'll probably give us a margin now. Yeah, let's go ahead and give us a margin and continue on there. Let's go ahead and say margin bottom, let's say another half a rim there. Give that a refresh. Cool, so that's looking a lot better, a lot closer. Matter of fact, that's even not even quite enough yet compared to the design. So let's up it to 1. Might even just go like, yeah. There we go. Nice, that looks pretty good. One last thing, I think we want this button down here to have a margin on top. We named it something, didn't we? Nav list, yes, nav list CTA. That's why I like these different, using these different links too. It makes, or these different class names, it makes it really easy to target. And yeah, margin top. Let's go ahead and give it another rim. Now these links are actually encapsulated in the nav list items, so this should push away, and that should also push away from there, and should give us a like a 2 rim margin between these. There we go. And if we look at the design that we're working off of, that is pretty close, minus the links are a little off, but I like it. I'm gonna stick with that. Looks good. Now we can come back up to here. We have this displayed flex. Let's say display none and get rid of that. Now let's go ahead and add the trigger to show the link. So I know I'm just gonna want, the way we're gonna handle this is we're just gonna toggle a class on and off this site header, and it will show the, it'll do a little bit, it'll make this position fix, it'll give it a background, and it'll show this nav menu item, so, or this nav menu. So let's just go ahead and say nav open. Yeah, let's just call it nav open, I guess. That'll work. Site header. You'll see what we're doing here in a second. It'll make sense, I think. Nav open, position fixed, background 333. Cool. Yep. I don't think we need to do anything different to that. We'll also say nav. Oh wait, hold on. Nav, site nav, cool. Site nav, we'll say display flex. Cool. So if we refresh this, it's going to be like that. And if we come up here into the site header, let's go ahead and add that class. Nav open, cool. So that's basically what we want. Now we can just go toggle this nav open on and off when we click this button inside some JavaScript. We're going to just do this really basic. I'm going to use some ES5. So let's go ahead and wrap this in an iffy to start. Function, which is just going to help encapsulate our code so that it doesn't clash with anything on the window object. We'll go ahead and make sure that we set this into strict mode, use strict. And so let's go ahead, we're going to need to get 2 variables. We're going to need to get the site header, and we're going to need nav toggle button. Let's just say button. Yeah, button. Cool. So there's a few different ways we can handle grabbing these. We can either use just a query selector method. I'm gonna add some IDs to these elements just to make it it's a little bit more performant, but it's like simple hook. I don't use IDs except for often. I do use them, but not often. Usually when I am, it's for JavaScript hooks. So just say site header. And here we'll just say ID equals nav toggle. And so that's pretty much all we're going to need for these two. We'll just say equals document dot get element by ID site header, and we're going to do the same here. We're going to say document dot get element by ID, and let's go ahead and set this to nav toggle. I think that's what we gave it, right? Let's just ensure. Okay, cool. ID nav toggle. Nice. So now we just need to add a click event to this nav toggle button. So let's do that. We'll say nav toggle.add event listener click, and we'll have just a simple callback function inside of here. And all we're going to do is just check this site header. We're just going to check its class. So we're going to say if site header dot class list, and class list is basically just giving us an array of all the classes that are assigned to the header site header element. So we can say contains, so we can actually see if it contains. So if it has nav open, we're going to add some functionality. We're going to add or remove a class, and then else we're going to add or remove a class, right? So if it has it already, we're going to want to remove it, and if it doesn't have it, we're going to want to add it. So if it has it, this will return true, and so we should remove it. So we'll say site header dot class list dot remove nav open, and we can just copy this and just say, and if it doesn't have it, let's just add it, and that's it. I mean, one last thing I would add here, actually, let's just say false as a second or as a third argument callback here, and let's just go ahead and say e.prevent default, make sure nothing submits or anything weird, and that should be good enough just to handle this simple little toggle button. Let's go ahead and give it a look. That's magic. Later on, we will probably do some more fun stuff with this button animations and stuff like that. But for now, I'm just going to leave that, and we can continue on down the site. Cool. Let's move on to the work section. And let's go ahead and give this like a class, like page section or something like that. Or we could say, what I'm thinking is on these two sections that we're going to have coming up. If I set this back to 1, there we go. It has these paddings, and so we're going to want a class to add these two and get that specific padding. And they're pretty similar sections, so we should probably give them a class name. Let's just call it like padded section or something like that. All right, let's just say section spacing, because I think we're going to use a margin. I was going to say use section padding, but then that could be confusing. So we'll just say section spacing. I think we're going to use a margin on that though. I'm not 100% sure yet how we're going to handle everything, but we'll see. Next, we're going to add a div. So another common thing that we're sharing between these are these section headings or headers, or section intro. So let's just call it section intro. That sounds good. Class is equal to section intro. And inside of here, we're going to have an H2. And we're also going to have a paragraph. And like we were doing before, we can add classes to these so that it's interchangeable with other elements. So why not? Let's just do that. I like to use a lot of classes, and it makes it more specific. Section intro heading. We'll just do the same way that we did the other one. Maybe not the most descriptive. You could probably come up with some better names if you'd like, or you can just omit these if you want. That's totally up to you. It's a lot more extra typing, and it definitely adds a lot to your code. I think it helps read through it though. It's not too bad. It's not enough to where there's not enough of a downside compared to the upside. So for me at least. and some of our featured works. Perfect. So we got this little section done. Now we have this little this next little section down here, which should be pretty fun, pretty easy, and it's gonna have a margin. So let's go ahead and start with that. We're gonna use grid for this because it definitely makes it easy to add these little like spacing in between here. And so yeah, let's go ahead and check that out. All right, so moving on, let's go ahead and add. So we're gonna have this. Let's go ahead and pull this up real quick. So we have like this little featured work gallery section. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna say div class is equal to, let's just call it gallery. Probably could call it like our work gallery or something if you want to be more specific. But for here, we'll just call it gallery. We will. So we're gonna have like 6 items, and they're gonna be links, and we're gonna make this a grid container. So I'm just thinking how, let's go ahead and set these href equal to, yeah, let's go ahead and set, so we're going to set 6 of these, and let's go ahead and give this a class, like class gallery item, and inside of here we're going to have an image source is equal to image, oh wait, we're inside of HTML images work one. Cool. So I think we just want to add that probably 6 times. Yeah, that looks good to me. Cool. 2, 3. I know I named these 4, 5. And let's give this a look and see where that's putting us. So as we're coming down, there we go. We have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have all our images and everything. That all looks pretty solid. Cool. So let's go ahead and start with the padding, and then one other thing we're going to do is we're going to create a wrapper, because if we're looking here, we have this, but this is also like centered out, so we're going to want to put a wrapper around these different sections. So we can just make like a global class of wrapper that will get us to where we want to go. And this section is 1300, so yeah, we'll have a wrapper somewhere around that width. Let's go and do that real quick. That should be pretty simple, and then we'll start working on this individual section. Oops, what am I doing? I need to get up here in the CSS. Let's go put this up in the base stuff above these buttons here. Let's just say page wrapper, and we'll just say wrapper. We know that on the mobile, at least, we want a padding of 0, 15 rems. We can go and set the default max width for this, so it's going to be width 100%, max width, that's what we're about to do here in a second, and we'll say margin 0 auto, we want it to be centered. I think this is going to work. So this guy here, max width, let's go ahead and open this up. It's about 1312, so let's go ahead and see what that is here. We can get something close to that. Divided by 16. Cool, so that's 82. Now, since we're adding these, we're going to be adding, oh wait, did I say padding 15? What am I doing? 15 rem, 1 rem, sorry. So we're going to do 82, but we're also have these 2 padding rims here on the, well, it's actually 1.5. That's where I got thrown off there. So that adds to 3 rems. So we're going to want to add 3 rems to this to offset this 1.5. But I actually is probably going to get more padding later on, but we can adjust that later. We'll just say 85 rem. Basically, all I'm saying is that since we're using border box, it's going to push in, so the actual width is not going to, it's going to be smaller if we don't account for the padding. So since we are 82 rem was the default size, and we're just accounting for that extra 1.5 rem here. Cool. Let's go ahead and give that, now we can go over to our index HTML. definitely going to want to give this a div class of wrapper. Now, I could probably add this or work this into the hero as well, but since the hero doesn't have like the same width, we'll just leave the hero as its own special case scenario on this, since that doesn't actually get to the same full width as this wrapper. But all the other sections coming up, the footer, the banner, and the about us, they all have like the same width, and so they're all going to be making use of this wrapper, this page wrapper container here. So let's go ahead and hit a refresh. Shouldn't be able to, what's going on here? Okay, cool. So we have that padding over here on the side, that with the gutter we're looking for. And these images here, you know what, one other little base thing we could add, which is going to be helpful, and I would say all images, let's do this above this. Let's just say images, or let's just say responsive images. We'll just say up here, image max width 100%. We'll just set that as like the default setting so that it's not over breaking this. See, there we go. So that looks pretty good. Nice. Nothing, not completely there, but you can see that we have the wrapper padding there, and it's lining up. Everything's lining up real nicely. Let's go ahead and tackle this header part, and then we'll do the grid section for the gallery. So we got a section intro down here. And we'll just say section styles. You just say home page section styles, because we also have section spacing. We'll do that as well. Let's go ahead and get an idea of what we're looking at for these guys. All right, cool. So over here, this, yeah, let's grab this. We can kind of get an idea of how far. So it's 66. Yeah, is that what we want? Somewhere around there. 66 divided by 16. Let's just say 4. We'll just go with 4rem. So we'll just say margin 4rem 0. Cool. And I'm not using padding because padding will not collapse with each other. And down here, I want the margin, the margin here at the top and this one are going to collide, and they will, they'll collide. Like, yeah, they'll overlap each other. If we're using padding, we'd get a big space in between here. Sorry, didn't have it pulled up. We'd have a big space in between here. So yeah, cool. And let's go and give that a look. It's always nice to check your work as you're going. Should give us a nice spacing. Cool. And yeah, it's giving us some spacing down there at the bottom as well. So that looks good. Let's do this intro. So I'm going to pull open this XD. So this should already be taken care of, and this is. It definitely has a space below it. So let's go ahead and click that. So we're looking at 2 rems of margin on the bottom. And this guy, this hero, it's got about, let's say, yeah, let's just give it like a 1/2 rem and then just see how that plays around. So section intro, we have a section intro margin bottom 2 rems. We have section intro heading. We'll say margin bottom 0.5 rem. And we will say section para margin 0. That should probably give us what we're looking for. Pretty close. I'd say that's it. Cool. Let's go ahead and go add these different sections below it too real quick. Down here, I'll just go add this. Make sure that it's all sharing properly, and we'll say about us. And what else did we say? Or what does this paragraph below this say? It says we are a creative agency. Real creative. That's all they can come up with. We are a creative agency. I guess that works. Yep, and that looks good to me. Cool. Let's continue on. Matter of fact, let's go look at that real quick. Nice. There we go. So we have the About Us section and this. Let's go ahead and knock out the gallery now. Work gallery, we're just giving it a class of gallery, and this is going to be display. Well, I want to display grid, right? Yes. And we're going to say grid template columns. I'm going to say repeat 2 1 1. There we go. Yeah. So we're making 2 grid columns, and we're gonna, each one of these is gonna get 1 fraction of each of those 2. And oh yeah, we need to add a gap for this size. If we look here, what is our gap? I think it's gonna be a rem. Yeah. Let's go and see, because these gaps in between here. So yeah, these gaps on the are 16 the gutter width. So yeah, it's gonna be 1 rem for the gap. Let's give that a look. Perfect. So simple. Looks great. Yeah, I love the grid. It makes life super duper easy. Now, these are links, and if we click out of here, they look pretty good. We should probably, let's give them a look. Yeah, they look pretty good. These should actually be, instead of inline, they should be displayed block. So let's just say gallery item display block. I hope that's what I named it. Is that what I named it? Gallery item, yes. Cool. So if we refresh, this won't. Width 100%, height 100%. That's probably what we want, right? The image. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Looking good. Actually, one more thing, those images are not 100% of these, so let's go ahead and make sure that we set those images to always be 100%. So we'll say gallery item image width. I think I have them set just so they're max width, but we want those to be 100%. We do want the display block. I thought that's where we're getting this gap from, but now that I'm looking, okay, cool. Image fits. Yeah, we're not going to add any hovering effects or anything yet. Maybe later on or in another video we can add some button hovers and all these other little sections. But yeah, looks good. Cool. So moving on to the About Us section, let's go ahead and do that. So let's look at, if we look over in here, we already have that, so we're just going to need to add an image and some text. This is going to be super simple. I don't even think we're going to really need to add any styles. Maybe not. Let's go ahead and just say div class equals about content. I guess we can just give it, put it in a div if we need to. Yeah, because we're going to want to probably set that to grid element when we scale it up. Yeah, we just say about content. Sure, yeah, that will work. We're going to have an image. We're going to just say div. Yeah, let's go div class. This will make it easier in the future. Div class about content or about image. I'm going to just call this about. Why not? About. It's like the about body, but that'll work. About image source is equal to images. I'm not going to add an alt tag here either. I'm just going to try to knock it out real quick. Div class is equal to, what do I have? 3 S's. What am I doing? Div class is equal to about content. Sure. And inside of here, we have an H3 and we have a paragraph. For these specific ones, I'm not going to add anything special since they're just going to inherit the default paragraph and heading styles. If I did want to change these, I would probably add a class to modify them, but these ones we're not going to need to, so let's look at that. Let's see what this looks like. Cool. Missing the wrapper, so I obviously didn't put this inside of the wrapper. No, I did not. We want this inside of this wrapper here. Cool. That should complete the entire, there we go. And this content image, okay, so we will add a little bit of styles. The about image, margin, bottom. I'm not sure what we're going to do here. Let's go ahead and give it a look. Two rems. We'll give it a margin bottom, 32 pixels, 2 rems. And let's go ahead and give that a look. Cool. So that's looking pretty good. It's all looking pretty okay. We'll definitely scale this up, make it a lot more responsive once we come up, bring this up in size. A lot of things that will definitely need some attention moving forward. We'll get the navigation showing. We'll fix this hero section. Let's see, is this, that's working at least though. The wrapper keeping everything centered and at their max width, so that looks great. So let's continue on to this CTA banner at the bottom and the footer, and then we will start working on creating this, making this responsive. All right, let's knock this out real quick. This should be fun. CTA banner. Let's go ahead and add the styles too. So, say class equals CTA banner. Say div class equals CTA banner content, and we'll say div class CTA banner button. There we go. So we're going to create the two sections. This actually is going to pretty much share the same styles as the section intro, so we can just copy that, drop that into here. Just looking at the design, I know that that's what we're going to need. It's got the same styles right here, so let's go ahead and add the content for that. This is going to be get in touch. This is going to, this paragraph here. Now that we're using it here, it's not really in a section intro. So you could probably start calling this like, I guess you could still call it section intro, but you could also call it like specific kind of like content text block or whatever. And we're also going to add a button. And this button is going to be contact us. And the text, we're gonna give it a class of button secondary. I kind of was forgetting, drawing a blank on what we named that. And this is also going to be button large, just like the one in the header or in the hero. Cool. And so CTA banner. Oops, CTA banner. Let's check this out and see what we got here. See how this looks. I know we're going to need to add a little bit of padding in here. Cool, so we have that. Cool, so first things first, background is equal to 333. I'm pretty sure, let me just give it a peek. Yes, I'm pretty sure. Yep. All right, so that looks good. We have this section, so what's the padding looking like here? We have about 36, so let's go ahead and give that padding 2rem0. I think I probably meant to do 32 pixels, but you could also account for that if you'd like. Definitely going to want this CTA banner. Yeah, CTA banner section intro heading. So let's attack this real quick. CTA banner. And we're going to want this section heading and the section paragraph to be white. Section heading And we can probably just do this as well. Para color white. And we're also going to want the wrapper around this. Div class equal to wrapper. So that'll contain everything. So that looks probably about what we want. Let's see what we have so far. Cool, that's actually pretty close to what we were looking for. Let's see, what's the margin here? 24, and what was this? I think this is 2 rems. So we're gonna also modify this section. Section intro margin here. So we'll just say anytime it's in the CTA banner, section intro, we'll say margin bottom. We'll update that to 1.5 rem for this specific case scenario rather than 2 like in the other one. And yeah, that looks pretty much perfect. If we run this, we can kind of looking pretty close. I'm going to say that looks good to me. Let's go and add this little footer, and then we will start working on making this responsive. Cool. Give this a class of site footer type, yeah, and then site TA banner. Everything's looking good. Site footer. We'll just give this a wrapper, like we did on the other one. Oops, there we go. And we're just going to give it a paragraph. We'll say copyright. Actually, let's just go and copy that from XD. I'm not sure what I wrote. There we go. Cool, and let's go ahead and update this HTML entity to copy. Cool, background, and let's go ahead and update that paragraph. What size is that? 14, so let's say paragraph. We're going to say font size is 0.875 rem. That'll set it to 14 pixels, and we'll also say margin 0. And color, let's go and give this like a medium gray of 999. Matter of fact, let's go see. What do I actually have it set for over here? Hey, I do have it set at 999. Cool. Yeah, I was just looking at what we have for the text here, and then let's go ahead and look at this. Let's go ahead and see 20. I think it's 24. So we want 2 rem margin or padding top and bottom. Padding 2 rem 0. All right, I think that should knock out the footer as well for us. Cool. That looks good. So the responsive site looks pretty much there. I think there's a few adjustments I can make. Maybe I'm kind of seeing this button looks. Actually, yeah. I think the button. Yeah, I think the button here is a little big. I think I was looking at the large size header hero button. These button large, where is that at? This is actually probably going to be like at a 2 rem as well. It'll probably up to a 3 rem from what I was looking at. There we go. And I think that we need a little bit more space from that hero button. Let's go ahead and tackle that. Hero button. We'll just say hero button. And we'll get a little bit of a extra margin from the top here. Hero. Margin top. And let's figure out what our margin top should be for that. I don't think I ever set that. I was just seeing it looked a little off. Oops. Let's go ahead. So 15. So we should probably give it an extra rem. We'll just say margin top 1 rem, and that should push away. Well, let's see. What do I have here? So we already have a rem here, so that should probably not. Oh, yeah, I guess we'll. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because. Yeah, perfect. That looks good. Cool, so now making this responsive, we should add a max width to this hero section. We don't want it to just continuously open up like that. We're also going to want to make that wrapper center. So before we add anything, let's start with that hero content, margin 0 auto. Actually, we can just throw that up here. I'm also going to say width 100%, but max width. Let's go see what the max width is. Now we're working with the this size. So this is 864 width. So let's go ahead and open up our 864 width calculator here, 1654. Now we also need to account for the 3 rims, so we'll say 57. Cool. So that should center it out. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and look at our design and see how close that's looking. We can just go and play it here. Cool. Looks like the font size, I'm pretty sure it gets bigger and these different things, so we're going to start needing to up the font sizes and paddings of everything. Looks like everything gets a little bit more padding and font sizes. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started on that. Cool. So looking here, we got to start coming up with some ideas of when we want this stuff to change. This website's pretty basic, so probably we'll just have somewhere in here we can switch to 3 column. I would say that looks pretty good at that width. We definitely want to make some changes down here before then, possibly, but maybe not. We can just keep going with what we got going here. Let's say somewhere around probably. Let's go ahead and see, maybe around 950. We can definitely make a lot of changes to this. Matter of fact, let's start with like a 640. I think we can make everything a little bit bigger. Let's just stick with 1 breakpoint for now, and then we can definitely add in another one. We only have like a desktop and a mobile size, so let's just keep this simple, just to keep this video as short as possible. I already know this video is going to be pretty long, but somewhere probably, let's say about 960, we'll just bump everything up, and we won't do a whole lot here, but yeah, let's just say about 960. If we take this, we can go 960 divided by 16, and then so it's gonna be like 63 rems, because we're gonna count those. No, let's just say 960 on the screen size, actually. Yeah. So let's go and say, let's add our first media query down here. We'll say query min width 960, and we might only add one 60 rem. We only might add one for this design. I'm a firm believer to add as many breakpoints as you need to make the design real fluid, make everything readable. But for this specific design, I think we'll probably just knock this out pretty quickly and finish up. So let's do at media screen and min width, what did I say, 60 rem. So let's go and start with, I'm going to want to update some typography. That's pretty important. And I'm going to want to update some buttons. I know that. So let's go ahead and get this base, and we'll grab this comment here. And we'll just say base. So, yeah, let's go and let's start with the H1. We're going to have an H2. I think these are the only ones we're going to update for now, are the headings from the design, looking at it. So let's go and see what this becomes. This becomes 64. So 64, I think that's 3.5. 64 divided by 16. or 4, yeah, what am I thinking? Ugh. Font size 4rem. Cool. H2, what size does that get to? We're going to want to update that to 32, so that's going to go to 2 rems. And last but not least, we have this H3, this one lone guy down here, and he's 24, so just font size 1.5 rems. Cool, 0.5 rems, right on. And I know for a fact, I think the button primary stays the same, but and secondary, but the button large, I think all we want to do is give a padding 3 rem, because earlier I had it set to 3 rem and I'm like, that was too big, but I know on this bigger design I think it's going to get bigger, or maybe not. I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, looking at the design, yeah, it's going to get a lot bigger. So right, so at 960, there we go. It's going to increase in size. Like I said, we could also add another one in there because that gets pretty small. We could probably have like an intermediate size before it gets down to mobile, but there we go. That looks pretty good. Also going to have, let's go and add a few of these big comments for sections that we're going to need some work in. It's going to be a lot of, I think the majority of the work is going to be in the header. It's not going to take long. We're almost done with this video at this point. And then we have a hero. In the hero section, I know from looking at the design that the hero paragraph is going to increase to font size 1.125 rem. It's going to be to 18 pixels, so that looks pretty good. Right on. I also know in the header, let's go and say, well, let's go site header. Let's pull open the XD. This is definitely going to have a lot more padding around it once we get to this size. So let's give it a height of, goes to 120, so 120 divided by 16 is going to be 7.5. So we're going to say height, I can't spell right now, height 7.5 rem. Going to have a logo update. And the logo, I think, gets to font size, logo, font size 1.5 rem. Let's double check that, but I'm pretty sure I just had this pulled open. 24 pixels, perfect. And yeah, the height increases. So let's go ahead and give that a look. Cool, that's looking pretty good. Definitely, it's going to get some more padding, some spacing here on the sides. So let's go ahead and up the padding. Let's go and see what we're looking at, just to kind of get a guesstimate. Probably about 3 rems. It doesn't have, I'm just going to go with 3 rems instead of measuring it out and just see what it does from there. Cool. That looks pretty good looking at the design. So that looks pretty good. We might actually even add up the padding down here to 3 rems so that everything's pushed in. Matter of fact, I will, but then I'll have to do some recalculations on some of these other areas. We can just leave this as it is for now, but we do need to well, yeah, we'll come back, we'll get rid of that. Matter of fact, let's just do it. All right, so first things first, we want to, at 960, this nav toggle, this thing is going. So, what the heck? Nav toggle. Sorry guys, I'm worked all day and then I'm trying to make this video. So display none. My typing is just terrible today. I don't know what's going on. Cool. And so site nav, we definitely want that to be display flex. So we're going to have that showing. Cool. Now, we don't want, we're just going to say position relative. Yeah, we don't want it to be positioned absolute anymore. Also, background transparent. We could probably add a lot of these into another media query that targets just like the specific one, so we don't have to unset these. But here it's pretty simple. We'll unset them. We could have just made like a media query and to set these. Yeah. Anyways, that looks pretty good. What else? If we search here, we got this set at display flex, and this is just alignment. So let's take this nav list here. We're going to set this to display flex now. All right, and that should inline all of these links. Perfect. We're going to say align item center. Cool. That probably won't do it actually. All these little links here, they have, well, we have margins and stuff like that on them. So let's go ahead and tackle these. Margin 0, padding 0. We're going to unset that. We're going to say nav list item, which is the list item. Item. Let's just go ahead and give this a margin left 2 rems. I'm not sure if that's what it is. I'm actually going to check real quick. Let's see. 32, yep, 2 rems, perfect. What a guess. I did design it so. And then we're also going to need to do this button over here. It's got a margin on top. So we want to get rid of that. So we'll say nav list CTA margin 0. Nav list CTA margin 0. Hit a refresh. Did I get rid of that? Yeah. So now what's going on here? So we have the header. We have this displayed now. We have this. Oh yeah, so we have this top position. So yeah, we just need to unset that top. Yep. What was that on? Site nav, yeah. We'll just say top initial. We could just reset it to initial. We could say, we could be doing like initial on all of this stuff to unset it, but cool. So that looks pretty good. Is that centered? Maybe. Looks a little off. Does this got a margin at all? Let's see. No, it looks pretty centered out actually. I was playing a little trick on me there. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Cool. So the header's done. Nice. So we got the hero and the header all responsive. One last little thing, since we're there, let's go ahead and go to the very top where I did set this. I want to give this a nav toggle cursor pointer, because right here it doesn't have a pointer. Cool. And as we expand that, cool, everything's looking good. All right, so what I said next, we're going to add like 3 rems, just like this, to these sections here. So let's go ahead and do that. Where was I setting that wrapper? So yeah, let's just grab page wrapper. I'm just going to grab this whole thing since I'm right here anyways, so I don't have to retype it out. Not a whole lot, but it'll make it easier. We'll put this above the buttons. This should be pretty easy to fix. We're actually going to update this to 3 rem. We don't need this, and we don't need this, and we can set this down in the original, so that's actually going to be set to 88. We can just set that originally up here because it has no impact, but we'll set it at the base here, and that should look pretty good. That's not right, actually. I think I didn't set rem on that, did I? Did I just say 3? I did that earlier too. Wrapper. There it is. Yep, 3 rem. Okay, cool. That should look pretty good. Let's give it a peek. All right, so you can see the gutter and everything looks pretty good, but as we shrink it down, the gutter is gonna shrink on the outside there. That looks pretty good. Now this work section, actually this section's next. Let's see if there's any changes. Pretty sure, yeah, this is gonna go up from, was that 16 over here? Let's see. Yeah, it's 16, it's gonna go up to 18 pixels here. So let's go ahead and adjust that real quick. What do we call that? We have hero, homepage section, we'll just go ahead and grab this big header. And well, actually, yeah, we're going to need this. And I think all of this, yeah. And then we'll say, well, let's just grab it all. This will be an easy copy paste. Let's go and just update these sections here. So instead of, we had it set at 4 rem, which I think it's still at, we want more spacing here. So let's start with that. If we open up our design, what do we have it set at? That's 128, so that's going to be like, what, 8 rems? Yeah, yep, 8 rems. So we'll set that right here. Now, does the section intro get changed? Let's see, that should give us a lot more space. There it goes. Let's go ahead and check this. Section intro, does that get any more padding on this? It's going to go to 56, so yeah, I have it set at 32. 56 is going to be, what is that, 3.5, so 3.5 rems. Section heading, margin bottom, I don't think that's going to change at all. Let's see. Yeah, 8. I think over here, yeah, it was actually, yeah, that's good. Matter of fact, I think, yeah, that looks good. Cool. And this last thing, we're going to leave that at 8, so let's just get rid of that. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to leave this at 0.5 here. I'm going to set the other one at 0.25 because I think I actually was playing around with that. Let's just see how that looks. I think that'll look better. It's kind of bugging me since I did the design. 2.5. I want to see what that looks like as I shrink it down. I think, oh yeah, that looks way better. Give us some extra space when it gets bigger. Yeah, we're keeping that. All right. What were we doing? Ah, here we go. Not changing the margin, but we are going to give it a font size 1.125 rem. All right, cool. So the whole section heading and section padding should be changed. Cool. So, oh, nice. Look at that. It gets big and pretty. All right, at this point, we need to set these to 3. So let's go ahead and grab the comment for that and just kind of look at what we did there. So we have this work gallery, and all we're going to need to do, matter of fact, I don't need to grab much here either. This is going to be super simple as well. We are on the home stretch right now. We're going to up this to 2. We don't need to reset it to grid, but we're going to set this to 3. That should fix it. Bam. There we go. Look at that. Perfect. Oh, yeah. Looks good. Looking good. Nice. That's all looking properly spaced. Down here, we're going to actually turn this into some sort of grid and put this to the right and everything. And then we're going to line this all out. So let's just go ahead and do this about section real quick. About. Let's get this back out. What do I call this? So about. Display grid. We're going to do the same thing like this, but with the 2. And what kind of a gap do we have between those two? I think we're going to do 2 rem, the gap 2 rem as well. Nice. I think that should, and let's also make sure this about image. Yeah, that should be good. Let's give it a look. Oh, perfect. Look at that. Now let's look at the design, make sure that we're like looking pretty on right now. I know I probably haven't jumped back to the design in a while, but yeah, that's how that's looking. That's how that's looking. Yeah, it looks pretty spot on. There's probably some fine tuning we can do, but I'm not going to worry about that. I actually think we have a margin on the bottom of this about image that we can remove here. Yep, cool. And last but not least, I think we're going to up the size of this in the footer, and we're going to make this lined out here. So Let's go ahead and inspect that. We have section, no wait, it's a CTA banner. CTA banner content. Oh, I think that was supposed to be, it's together. Let's go look. Let's go look. Oh wait, what am I not here? Let's go look in the HTML. CTA banner content section. Yeah, I think that's what we want. Like that. And I don't think that's going to change it at all, is it? Nope. Cool. So we're going to want the CTA banner content. Let's go ahead and just at this point, we're just going to say display flex, justify content center, and align items center, justify content space between. Cool. That should get us pretty close. Let's see. Nice. Now I think this guy might have a margin on him, or this guy does. Okay, let's get rid of the section intro. We don't want any margin there. Let's give that a look. Should even it out. Cool. And I think there's a little bit of extra padding that we need to add to this CTA banner here. I'm going to go look right now in the XD and make sure that we get the right size there. We are just about done. Oh man, this has been kind of a long video. Let's go ahead and see. What are we looking at? 63, I'm just going to say 64, padding, 4M0, right? Yep, 64, 4M. So it's, instead of being all tight, it's going to give us that extra space. Yeah, this is looking real good. Last thing, but not least, let's see, do I need to make any adjustments here? This goes up to 16 pixels, and let's go ahead and see 44-ish. We'll say, yeah, we'll just say 3 rems. So we'll make it nice and big. We'll see how that looks. Yeah, so we'll up the padding. Let's say site footer padding 3 rems, 0. Yes, and we're gonna say what did I do? I just selected it at the paragraph level. Yep. Okay, and we'll just say site footer paragraph. Font size 1 rem. I think we're done. Let's give it a look. Make sure everything looks, good for this video. Nice. Now if we shrink it down, everything looks good. Now you could definitely add a little bit more breakpoints, maybe make this font size a little bit bigger, have like an intermediate different header sizes and stuff in there, but that's pretty good. We could probably actually do something a little bit different with this section when it gets big like this, but that still looks okay. For this video at least, I think we're going to sign off and call that good. I will probably come back and do another video where we animate this little clicking guy here, and we'll do some nice button hovers as well. And ooh, that's a problem right there too. Actually, let's take care of that one real quick. I just found that cool. Simple little bug. Site header, anytime it is over, where are we at? Site header, background. Actually, nav open, background, transparent. Yep, there we go. So that won't happen again. and that'll be it. Collapse this down, we click this. If we expand, there we go. Yeah, cool. Nice. That's gonna be it for this video. Cool. Yeah, we'll do another video, possibly adding some hover animations, and we'll do like a little click animation here where this like turns into a nice little X. But yeah, for now, I think we're gonna sign off and call that good.